So let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, The Occult View. It's a lot of shit going on as usual, isn't it? But then, that means you're alive and that means you're a part of the world and, you know, just thankful for the breath of life. You feel what I'm saying? There's always something going on. And as long as you are alive, you're going to experience polarity. But before I get into all of that, I want to say this. We always talk about our rights as far as government or political, but do we ever talk about our spiritual rights? And what I mean when I say spiritual rights, I mean our right to live in peace, our right to live in harmony, our right to live in happiness, our right to live in joy. And so many times those rights are violated. Those things are revolutionary rights, spiritual revolutionary rights to live in peace, prosperity, joy, and happiness. And as long as I have breath in my body, I will fight someone to the death for all of those things. You notice I didn't say anything about money. I said I will fight someone till the death for my peace, my prosperity, and my happiness and my joy. I will not allow anyone, mother, father, brother, sister, lover, I will not allow anyone to jeopardize or violate my peace and my happiness. And I will fight that person to the death. And I don't care who you are. It can be physical or it can be verbal and psychologically and emotionally. That is a revolutionary right. That's a revolutionary act to fight for your spiritual rights to exist without being violated. And there are so many people in this cosmic world soul, especially a lot of religious people, who like to violate people and take away their right to individual spiritual revolutionary freedom. And I will not allow anyone to do that to me. And you should not allow anyone to do that to you either. Please contact me at grantseer@yahoo.com for spiritual advisement, spiritual consultations. I will put the I will put my email address in the video description box. Um, of course, you have to pay me for my services, and you have to pay me well. No more freebies, no more of any of that, because I know what my energy's worth. Do you know what your energy's worth? You should. You should. It is your spiritual revolutionary right to live in harmony and peace and in balance. And I know we're living in a world of an unpredictable world. And I know we live in a world of polarity where sometimes things are up and sometimes things are down. I get that. And we just adjust to, we adjust our energy and frequency to whatever's going on. I get that. But no one should come into your life to cause upset or abuse. And if that's what that person brings to your life, then you have to cut them out. You have to cut them out. And I don't care who it is, it could be your mama. Because a lot of people have an issue when you say that your mother is a toxic individual. A lot of people have an issue with that. So let's have a little chat. I just wanted to get that off my chest first. So let's have a little chat. I want to talk about P. Diddy. And I really did not want to talk about that individual again. But since he's in orbit right now, let's talk about it briefly. P. Diddy is a hypocrite. He is diabolical. And we all know he has unseen, unknown handlers too. We know that. But I want to talk more about the bigger picture and what P. Diddy really represented. He represented the end of civilization, especially for a lot of black people. And when I say the end of civilization, I don't mean an anti, I'm sorry, not anti, I don't mean anticlimactic or apocalyptic, event where everything is destroyed. No, I'm not talking about an Atlantis destruction story or anything like that. I'm talking about the end of what I just spoke about, spiritual revolution, spiritual rights. He brought in the end of civilization, being civil towards one another, having compassion, respecting people's boundaries and rights. He put frequencies out into the cosmic world soul that violating people was okay. He put frequencies out into the cosmic world soul, especially targeted to the black community or marketed to the black community, that it's okay to not have compassion. It's okay to be an egomaniac, a psychopath, a sociopath. It's okay to violate and disrespect women. It's okay to violate and disrespect other black men and men in general, because remember, Justin Bieber is also intertwined in this, and he's a white young man. It's okay for these things. He put those frequencies out into the universe, and it created a mutant civilization where no one has respect for anyone's boundaries, no one has respect for anyone else's thought process. Everyone is all about themselves. No one cares about how the next person feels. No one cares that their actions may have detrimental consequences for someone else. He brought in that frequency and vibration. He was responsible for the end of our civilization, being civil towards one another. He brought all of this ghetto ratchetness into orbit. He brought it in for whatever purpose and agenda. He brought it in. So to me, that's the bigger picture. And all of these people who are doing interviews, I'm not naming any names, but I'm sick and tired of you all doing interviews, talking about what you saw, what you knew, this, that. Well, if you knew he was doing all of those things, why did you remain silent? Why did you remain silent? All of the men that knew, the bodyguards and all these other people, you knew the things he was doing to people. And now all of a sudden you want to come out and do all of these interviews for sensationalized purposes that have nothing to do with bringing awareness to, violating women or the abuse of women and people in general, but mainly women. That's not the reason why you're speaking out now. You're speaking out now because it's a hot topic, and you know that can give you notoriety and put money in your pocket. Because let's be honest, who knew who Gene Deal was before all of this? Who knew who he was? Who knew who he was? And it's no disrespect to that brother, but I'm just saying, this is all more ritualized BS. It's all more ritualized BS. You want me to tell you who I think the heroes are in all of this? It's people like Cassie and her mother. And even though people are making derogatory statements, and I want to say this too, even though people are making derogatory statements now about Cassie, you see how they like to vilify the victim? Just like, I've been at the receiving end of my mother's emotional and psychological abuse forever, but I'm the one that's always vilified when I respond to it. They're doing the same thing to Cassie. Now they're trying to say, well, Cassie is complicit in the things and activities that P. Diddy was involved in, all of the nefarious activities. Let me tell you people something. When you are dealing with a violent, narcissistic, sociopathic psychopath, they don't have to threaten you verbally. Their tone in their frequency and in their aura is very threatening. P. Diddy has a very dark aura. I can look in his eyes and tell how dark and evil and sinister he is. He has no soul in his eyes. And that's above most people's pay grade, but if you know, you know. He has no soul in his eyes. He met Cassie when she was only 19 years old. And she probably did get caught up with the bling, the money, and all of that stuff. But once she got in, she was in. So for people to say now that Cassie is not a victim and that she is somehow complicit in what was going on, to me, that is disingenuous and that is dishonorable and it's disgusting, especially when we saw, no matter what you may think about it, especially when we saw on tape how he beat that girl in that hotel lobby, or not lobby, but that hotel hallway. We saw how he beat her. So Cassie is a victim. I'm not saying that she's perfect. I'm not saying that in some ways she may not have, I'm not saying that she wasn't complicit in some ways. But when you are dealing with an evil, demented, sociopathic, psychopathic, narcissistic person like him, who has money, power, and influence, you will do whatever they tell you to do because you don't want to die. You don't want them to harm someone in your family. Because these are the threats that she's probably had to live with and endure being up under that monster. Of course, his kids are going to stand by him because they're probably just like him. He probably raised them to be just like him. And then that time when they searched his, not searched, they did that raid on his house. I believe it was the one in New York, maybe the one in Miami. He had the nerve to have a Bible in his house. Yeah, because he's summoning those biblical demons in the Bible. That's what he's doing. So Cassie is a victim, and she was a victim. No matter how you try to spin it or how you try to monopolize it or manipulate the situation, she was a victim. I mean, monopolize off of, this now new bullshit that's floating around that, oh, she's not a victim. Oh, she was a victim. She was victimized by him. And we saw it in that video that she was a victim. Somebody that's getting assaulted and beaten like that. And you want me to believe that that's not a victimized woman who deserves justice? I don't care about anything else. I'm talking about what I saw and what I know. Because my grandmother was victimized like that by her husband. I've seen black women constantly getting victimized by black men. And this is no disrespect to brothers. I'm just pointing out facts. So Cassie is a victim. And P. Diddy brought in this type of energy. He brought in the end of black love. He didn't like black love. He likes BDSM and weird shit that they have normalized. They've normalized things that were in the dark parts of the underworld where it should have stayed, and they brought it from the dark parts of the underworld into mainstream. BDSM was an underworld type of fetish and frequency and vibration, and it should have stayed in the underworld, in the dark, where it belonged, because whatever you do in the bedroom with your partner, that's your business. But they've tried to normalize this. I've even had guys come at me, in the past, yeah, I want to dominate you. Now, when I was in my 20s, that may have looked, that was when I was 19, 20, and I wanted to experiment and stuff, that was different. But once I started getting into my 40s, ain't nobody fucking dominating me. You're not dominating me physically. You're not dominating me mentally. You're not dominating me psychologically or emotionally. I don't play those types of games. I'm not into BDSM. But now BDSM has been forced into mainstream because of people like P. Diddy. Now, to be fair, he's not the only one. He's not the only one, but he's a main figure that started pushing these uncivilized frequencies out into the cosmic world soul, and it has had an effect on our brains, our minds, because the mind and the brains are different, are two different things. It has had an effect on our relationships with each other, how we speak to each other, how we interact with each other. It has had an effect. You might as well call him one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Which one, I don't know, but you might as well call him one of them because he brought in a certain frequency that has caused destruction psychologically and emotionally. See, a lot of things that we call the end, it's not a physical end, it's more psychological and emotional. But we are caught up in the illusion. Remember, visual, audio, and verbal. Those things put together in the wrong way can cause a lot of damage to your subconscious. So, for me, it's the bigger picture. It's the bigger picture. Another thing I want to talk about, I was thinking about Christian Keys. I believe that's his name, Christian Keys. And, he's the actor, the nice looking guy that came out a few years ago stating that a big name black man in the industry, someone with a lot of power, had SA'd him, sexually assaulted him, basically. I don't know why we can't say sexually assault anymore, but basically sexually assaulted him. And I believe he said it was several black men in the industry that did it, that are powerful, but he never told us who they were. It was like dangling a carrot in front of people to get attention, to get notoriety, to get views and clicks and all of that shit, right? But Christian Keys disturbs me on so many levels. And I'm really beginning to question if, I'm sorry, I'm really beginning to question if he was even telling the truth about being sexually assaulted, and here's why. Christian Keys does not like gay people, and that's fine. I don't care anything about that. I'm okay with that. And I'm gay and I'm okay with it. That's fine. He wants gay people to stay away from him. And my personal opinion, I would want him to stay away from me as well. He's not my type. He's the type of man, because to me, I said good looking only for the sake of so people could know who I'm talking about. But for me, he's not that attractive to me in my eyesight. He looks like his breath may stink. That's just me, because I know a lot of good looking men. A lot of times they're good looking in the face, but when they open up their mouths, their breath, they have halitosis breath. But that's another story. Got to take care of the teeth, gentlemen. Flossing, going to the dentist, and all of that. You got to do that. But that's another story. But he disturbs me on so many levels. And sometimes spirit will have you examine something so you can expose it. So he was on my mind yesterday, and I went back and I just researched him. Now, he does not like gay people, and that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. Like I said, that's fine. You know, this is one gay man that will not be up in his DM messaging him. I've never done that. I don't do that. He played in a television show, I believe it was a television show called Legends of Tomorrow. This was back in 2019. And for someone who has so much anti gay rhetoric, and for someone who doesn't want gay men to be around him, and for someone who has a policy in the bedroom, according to him, where there's only one beard allowed, meaning he don't want no other man in the bedroom with him, fine. He's straight, right? He's heterosexual. Or at least that's what he would lead us to believe. I'm going to say allegedly, because he threatens to sue people. Then why were you, sir, involved? Why did you play a gay character who was kissing another man? How did we forget that in that television show? I never watched it because he's never been, Christian Keys is okay, but he's never been anyone that appealing to me. You know what I mean? I think, Shamar Moore is more appealing if you ask me. Shamar Moore was the it boy of the 90s, But anyway, he played in this movie. I'm sorry, this television show, Legends of Tomorrow, back in 2019, where he played Constantine's, because I did the research, Constantine's boyfriend, a white guy, and he was kissing him on the lips. And at first I thought it was an AI generated, fake picture, but then I found out that it wasn't. And he was kissing this man on the lips. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I know that straight actors play gay roles all the time. But for him to have that much vitriol for gay people, because afterwards what happened was, unfortunately, a lot of weirdos and perverts were DMing him, and I think they were gay, of course, and they were DMing, and I'm not calling them that because they're gay. I'm saying that because this is what he was basically describing. They were DMing him and harassing him via his DM. And I understand that. You didn't want them bothering you. I get that. That's not my issue. My issue is this: you claim to be so heterosexual, but you played a gay character and you were kissing a man on the mouth. This was not a private experience that you wanted to experiment with something. You know what I'm saying? You made a conscious choice to play a gay character and to kiss another man on the mouth. And then you have the unmitigated gall to tell gay people to stay away from you. The men that were probably emailing you were probably not real gay people. They were probably confused men, sexually confused men, like I really believe that he is. This is a man that has no girlfriend. He's never been married. I don't think he has children, but he has all of this vitriol for gay people when you played a character that was gay and you were involved in a intimate kiss with another man. Now let me tell you, most heterosexual men that I know, and all the heterosexual men that watch this video, show with the thumbs up sign. Most heterosexual men that I know, I let heterosexual men have their say. I don't care how they speak, long as they don't disrespect me individually and directly. But heterosexual men have a way of talking, and I don't think that that should be censored. You know what I mean? Amongst themselves. But all the straight men, the heterosexual men that watch my video, show me by the thumbs up. Would you kiss another man if you're really heterosexual? Because most heterosexual men that I know, you couldn't pay them to kiss another man. I'm just saying. But then you turn around and you accuse people, men, of SAing you, and then you never say who the person is. 2, 3 years later, he still has not said who the person is. He still hasn't said it. If Cassie and the rest of these women can come out and identify the things that P. Diddy did, why is Christian Keys protecting his alleged sexual assaulter? Why is he protecting them? He's not protecting himself. So you mean to tell me he can go on social media? I'm talking about what he did in 2019. You can go on social media. You can go on social media and you can attack people coming into your inbox on Instagram and everywhere else who are gay because they saw you kissing a man on screen and they were telling you how hot you were and sending you cucumber emojis. You're mad about that. You can come on social media and admonish those people, but you mean to tell me 3 years later, you still have not revealed who the parties were who you say sexually assaulted you? But then you all are running around social media talking about Cassie is not a victim when we saw on that tape that was you, P. Diddy, on tape. Like they said on Good Times. Remember when Penny's mother was beating her up, and she recorded it? Janet Jackson's character? That's you on tape. And then you want to hide behind heterosexual black men. You want to hide behind the cloak of heterosexual black men, real heterosexual black men. You want to hide behind them, making them look bad when you were in a love scene with a whole man while you're pretending to be straight. Oh, I'm sorry, not pretending, while saying that you're straight. You've never seen Denzel Washington kiss another man on screen, as far as I know. You never seen the late great John Amos, who played James on Good Times. You never saw him kissing another man on screen. You never saw the late great Moses Gunn kissing a man on screen. You never saw Adolf Caesar kissing a man on screen. And all of these were straight men. These were all alpha heterosexual black men who I have respect for. I have respect for alpha heterosexual black men, contrary to what people may believe about the enmity between gays and, heterosexual black men. I'm not an insecure gay person. So I can sit in whatever I need to sit in. If a person doesn't like me, they just don't fucking like me, but they better stay the fuck away. And I'm going to stay away from them. That's how that's going to work. But how is it that nobody is calling out Christian Keys? How is he not being called out? Because the implication was that he was talking about Tyler Perry allegedly, or even TD Jakes allegedly. And I'm saying allegedly, and I don't particularly care for neither one of them. But it is unfair. Tyler Perry can be accused of a lot of things, but it is unfair to accuse or imply that he did something like that if that's not true. Same thing with TD Jakes. That is unfair to imply that if it is not true. And if it is true, he had a responsibility to expose them. And I know what people are going to say. Well, see, or he probably was threatened. So what? You know how many times Cassie was probably threatened? The point that I'm making is this. How dare Christian Keys admonish gay people coming into his inbox, but yet you let a whole sexual predator run around out here, according to you, that sexually assaulted you, and you won't even expose or admonish them? We have yet to know or find out who he's talking about. We have yet to know. But you want gay people to stay away from you. But you're protecting the predator that sexually assaulted you. I just want to get this all together. So that leads me to believe that Christian Keys is part of some form of, he's part of a cult, and he's also part of an agenda as well. There is some type of agenda that he is part of to distract the public. What is he bringing in, or what did he bring in by coming out saying that he was sexually assaulted, but yet he wouldn't name who the person was? But he tried to make it seem as though that it was Tyler Perry, allegedly. And I'm not saying that it was Tyler Perry. I'm going by what he was implying, the implications. Because I'm going to tell you something. If a man sexually assaults me, I'm going to get on every rooftop. I'm going to get on bullhorns. I'm going to make signs. I'm going to have protest. I'm going to spray paint. Everybody going to know, including the Queen of England, and she's dead. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. And I'm not saying hallelujah, thank you, Jesus, because the Queen is dead. I actually, you know what? A lot of people hated the Queen. I actually liked the Queen of England. I liked Queen Elizabeth. I liked her. I thought she was a very classy woman. I thought she was very poised, full of opulence. I liked the Queen, you know? But then I like order and regulation. So I like the Queen. It is what it is. That's just me. And I like Princess Margaret as well. I like the Queen Mother. But y'all, I'm getting off into a whole nother topic. But anyway, but I'm just saying, I'm just asking these questions because we live in a world with all of this deception and lies, people bringing in agendas like P. Diddy did. So, what agenda did Christian Keys bring in? What was he trying to accomplish by saying that he was sexually assaulted but never identifying the person that sexually assaulted him? And I don't want to hear that bullshit that he was afraid. Because if he was really afraid, he would have never said anything about it. A person that's afraid is not going to say shit. They ain't going to imply. He used the public to get something. And now that he probably got what he wanted, I guess, he doesn't need the public anymore. But I just find it interesting. He can admonish the gay community on Instagram for coming into his inbox. He can do that, but you can't identify the person that you said sexually assaulted you. And then you got these niggas running around on YouTube and in social media talking about Cassie not a victim when that woman was brave enough to get on stage, on the stand and confront her predator. But Christian Keys gets to hide his. But he wants to talk shit about gay people. When you played a gay role, but yet you're heterosexual. What type of sexual ambiguousness is that? What type of moral ambiguousness is that? That's being morally and sexually ambiguous. Do you know how many men like Christian Keys I've had sex with? Do you know how many men like Christian Keys I have met up with and had sex with back in my heyday? Who did exactly the same, who have the, let me say it like this, who have the same exact psychological patterns that he does? I don't fuck with them. I got a no beard policy in my bedroom. All that means is he wants you to shave if you're a man. That's all that means. Read between the lines. If you're a man, he just wants you to look feminine, shave a little bit, put on a wig, put on some lipstick, put on a dress. I'm on the chubby side, y'all, so I already had the titties, the breast. I already had that. So that's why a lot of the men used to like me back in the day, and they still do. I don't have any hair on my body. I got a fat butt, big pretty lips. That's all he meant. Just shave a little bit. One beard policy. Shave a little. Oh, and if you're a transgender, you're perfect. But if you're just a regular dude like me, you gotta have, some femininity with you. Shave that beard off. Yeah, make your face smooth. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Put some lipstick on. Put a wig on. Put a dress on. You got man boobs like I do? Hmm. I'm not talking about straight men or heterosexual men. I'm talking about men who play these types of games like a Christian Keys. And then they want to hide behind heterosexual men, especially heterosexual black men. And they want the world to believe that they're heterosexual, but they're really metrosexual. And metrosexual leads into bisexual. What else did I want to talk about? I think that's really it. You just got to know the world you're living in. You know what I mean? And you have to understand that people are put in place for certain reasons, certain seasons. And now P. Diddy's season is over. It's over. I really wasn't trying to talk about him, but a lot of things about him are in orbit right now. Anyway, this is the occult view. Once again, hit me up for your spiritual, if you need a spiritual consultation. You can hit me up at grantseer@yahoo.com. Um, I do spiritual consultations. I give spiritual advice, and I help you piece together the puzzle of you. It's not about anybody else, it's about you and what you're going through and who you are. And that's what I do. Thank you for listening, and that's it.